All right, let's do this again. So welcome back. Hopefully everyone's having a lovely day. We're on episode number 3. Now the interesting thing is episode number 3 will actually, I'm filming it on the November 6th, but the first video in this experimental series actually went live today. So another celebration, I suppose. Tonight we are doing the Undercrown brand cigar, and it is the Shade cigar. A nice Connecticut wrapper, very, very easy draw. One of my biggest characteristics I look at with cigars is the draw. Ooh, very smooth, very easy draw. And now this wasn't intentional, but the drink tonight is a Lion Stout. I just got one of those Selecta 6-packs and kind of grabbed some random stouts from the cooler at the store, and this was one of them. So I've actually never had this brand before, but I do like a good stout, good dark beer. So we're going to give this one a try tonight. And it is definitely a good stout. Bitter, quite bitter, but for a stout, that's usually what you're looking for. Not as sweet, but the color is beautiful. Very, very dark color. Which for me, anyway, that's how you want your stouts. You want them to catch all the sunlight so you can actually drink sunlight. So a couple of big happenings with the Uper Homesteader here, or the Uper Farm here. First, we did finally go live with YouTube doing videos again that are not educational based. The Uper Farmer channel on YouTube, there's a lot of educational videos I'd post, whether that's for my side business or people requested that I put out certain videos for educational content. But this series, we're calling it the Experimental Series. This is episode number 3. Is kind of for me to get used to doing videos that are not educational based. And I mentioned this before in the other videos. It's something I've looked at, I've researched, but I wanted to get rid of my toolbox fallacy and just do it. Just go right for it. And fix any mistakes, kind of learn trial by fire, which is what I need to do more often. I do it a lot. It's kind of funny. I'll start researching and planning a lot of stuff, and then I end up just doing the trial by fire anyway. A couple of changes you might notice. One, I made sure to clear ample memory off my phone, so we shouldn't have any issues with it cutting out. 2, I changed the camera angle. It's probably noticeable that the tripod is at the head of the table instead of the foot. We're going to see how this works. I will admit my biggest downfall when it comes to videos, especially these staged videos, is lighting. I've always had a bit of an issue when I ran theater tech for different theaters. I would never volunteer for the lighting. There was a lot of issues that I thought I'd fix with it, but haven't quite worked out. I don't know. We'll keep working on this lighting, see if we can get rid of some of the glare and some of the shadows, and play with the camera angle. So again, success. We were finally on YouTube and producing videos there. Ooh, still very good cigar. Nice light flavor. It is suddenly getting a weird burn there. I don't know if you heard the torch burning. It started to canoe right away. I'm not sure. That might be me. I might have lit it poorly. That'll sometimes happen, especially when I'm distracted running a camera and trying to set up for a photo shoot. So, other big news, the chicken front. We have committed to keeping our chickens throughout the winter. I'm currently in the process of building them a winter coop, which is coming around nicely. It's going to be insulated, not thick insulation, We're only really relying on that, the bubble wrap metal insulation that you usually use on hot water heaters and garage doors. The reason for that is kind of twofold. One, if you use anything like the foam board or even like fiberglass insulation, you have to seal that off or else the chickens will just peck it and eat it and cause them problems. But two, that's where you're going to get your rodents. That's where you're going to get your bugs, and your rodents will burrow into that. And then you have a whole nother issue to try and solve with your chickens. So we're just doing that metal bubble wrap insulation. I know it only gets me about an R3 rating, which isn't a ton, and I'm sure there's some farmers and chicken lovers out there that are going to be angry with that, saying I should do something thicker, a little better insulation value. But we have solved two other problems. One, we have a little alcove behind our house that's protected from the wind and the snow. A little bit of an awning next to our shed. That's where we're going to position the coop, so it actually has wind breaks from all three sides. It'll get very little snow coming off of it. It'll get a little bit of ambient heat from the house, actually. And once I finish the coop, I'll take some pictures, and we'll probably do a whole video where I show off the coop setup. We will have a light. We're decided to forgo the heat lamp, though. It's still a possibility. I'll have it wired up so we can wire a heat lamp in there if need be. But I don't think we're going to have that big of an issue with these chickens. They do not, we've had snow and frost and some cold weather, and they're not the huddlers. I don't see them huddling together. They usually are out in the run in the middle of the nasty rain, even though part of their run is actually blocked off. And then they also have the coop. I always see them out in it, but again, we can add a heat lamp. We are going to have in the coop, their water is actually positioned inside, again, to help fight freezing up water. I also bought an immersible probe to stick inside their water container to keep the water from freezing. And we're going back and forth. We do have a spare Wi-Fi camera that we don't really use a lot in the house. Every now and then we have one that we do use every now and then. We got kind of a spare one. I'm actually thinking about putting it inside the chicken coop. Multiple reasons. One, we can kind of monitor the chickens, see if they are huddling up during the night or during cold, so we know if we have to run a heat lamp in there. Two, it'll help us kind of check to see how their egg production is doing. And three, sometimes it's just fun to spy on your livestock like that. So that's the plan so far for the chickens. Again, we're going to winter them. This cigar is really burning weird. This is getting some points taken off for it. It's getting a weird burn, and it's also going out. Which usually when I talk and smoke a cigar, that's not uncommon, but this is a little ridiculous, especially for a very smooth drawing cigar. Quite surprising. So Undercrown, great on the draw. I don't know about your light, though. And those of you might notice, no, I did not edit out me. When I puff on my cigar, I'm not editing that out. I'm just leaving it in there. Kind of more authentic. And I don't know, maybe we'll try editing it out in the future. But right now, I'm leaving that all in. So beyond the chickens, which we're hopefully going to have their coop finished by tomorrow, so we start moving the chickens in there, I got to use one of the preps I talked about in the first video. I was really actually kind of excited. You can always tell someone who's in EMS or in disaster preparedness. Fire is a lot the same way, law enforcement too. We're one of the few people when a disaster happens or a event happens that a lot of people are very scared or worried about, we almost get excited about. I know there was a disaster relief, a big disaster I had to go go help out with. And I remember watching the news as it broke that there was going to be this mass flooding. And my wife said, well, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, this is awesome. I get to go help and save people and rescues, and it's going to be great. She kind of put me in my place. She said, now, that's horrifying that this is happening. But I digress. Again, those of us who are in the profession because we want to help, we want to get in there, we want to save lives. But anyhow, what happened today, we were coming home from picking up some supplies for the chicken coop, and suddenly we lost power through our entire house. Checked the usuals, the circuit breaker, checked see if there are any lines down or something wrong. We just got new smart meters installed in our house from the electrical company, so I know sometimes those can get a little dingy. Those all checked out fine, so I got to finally use my generator in a real situation, real power out situation. Generator worked pretty much flawlessly. I was able to keep the heat going. I was able to keep the hot water going. I was able to keep our water pump going, and allowed us to turn on some lights. And actually, I was able to run power to our router and our internet, so we could even be online, surfing the web and whatnot, which was awesome. Really neat when you get to use that. I've had the generator. I got it hooked up this summer, thanks to a friend of mine who's an electrician. Came out, helped me with the transfer switch, helped me do some wiring on the plug. Turned out beautiful, and it worked well. So also got to see what it would and would not power. We had a little bit of issue with one or two lights that seemed to flicker. They wouldn't exactly stay on full brightness if we had a bunch of them on. I'm going to look into that a little bit more because nothing else seemed to have this power fluctuation. And I know the generator was running perfectly. It wasn't having a weird idle or anything. So I'm going to dig in. It might just be that light bulb. Sometimes some electronics do not like running off of generator power because of the phases of that generator and the wavelengths that it can produce with its AC power. There we go. We got that. That's light better and smoking a little bit better now. So yeah, the phases on that generator, I know you can buy devices that you can either hook on directly to the generator or onto your outlets to deal with those phases when it phases in and out. I don't know, I might invest or look into that. The one thing I am going to look into, though, is getting some better surge protectors, especially if we're going to be running a generator and having power cut in and out. I do know sometimes when you kick on a generator and then throw the transfer switch, there can be a large jolt of power, and more sensitive equipment like computers can be fried by that. So getting a better surge protector is definitely one of the next preps, I think, coming up here with the homestead. So that was really neat. It's always very gratifying when you denote a risk you have around your house, around your homestead, around your farm, and you actively go to try to mitigate that. Getting the generator and hooking it up, making sure it worked, making sure it had fuel. I talked about having the backup fuel specifically for the generator. I have a good little cache, nothing crazy, about 15 gallons worth of gas hanging around, which that gas isn't just for the generator, it's for the snowblower, it's for the lawnmower. But if it's needed, it's there for the generator. And it did. It worked perfectly. The only hiccup that I ran into, and this is totally my fault. Now, again, I have a huge experience with confined space, with hazmat, EMS stuff. I have a little bit of fire experience. It didn't dawn on me. I started up the generator. The sucker is really, really, really loud. So the shed door that I have it in has a slider. So I shut it most of the way so I wouldn't disturb my neighbors. And then we had that power fluctuation of the light, so I went to go check on the generator and see what type of load it was pulling. Walked in, checked the meter, walked out, and got dizzy. Apparently that even though I thought the shed had really good ventilation, it has a few spots where it actually has some open air. It is not good enough to pull the fumes out of that space. So Mental note, we're going to put in some better ventilation. I might even add a system so when we fire up the generator, it automatically turns on a vent fan. So we can kind of pull some of that CO2 and CO out of that place, out of the enclosure I have it in. And again, I know better. I know you should not enclose a generator and run it and then enter that space without airing it out first. But what's the saying go? You know, it's the those who know it preach it. Those who do it don't. So I'm good at preaching that stuff, but doesn't mean I always do it for myself and mind my own safety. So other big plans coming up here on the old homestead, the farm. Again, going to get those chickens moved over. And again, I'll show that off. That'll probably be the next video. Is I'll do a little bit of talking here in the garage again, kind of showing off what improvements I do for my videotaping. But then I might transition over to showing some pictures and explain the logic behind how we set up our chickens' wintering coop. I do really like having the summering coops, and I really do enjoy harvesting the chickens in the fall for meat. Again, it gives the kids, my kids, a nice cycle of life. It shows them the husbandry, raising chickens from little chicks, caring for them, giving them to produce eggs, and then showing how to harvest them. Which is a nice process for kids to learn, and I think that's very important for every person, children especially, to learn where your food comes from and learn the process, that this is not an easy thing to do. And it helps them also respect their food, the morals and ethics behind it, realizing that when you sit down to have a hamburger or chicken nuggets or whatever, beef stir fry, that animal was alive. It had a life. Someone had to care for it, tend to it. But its life had to end to sustain yours. Very powerful message for children or anyone really to get. I read a lot of comments online about people who I really don't think they know where their food comes from. They don't understand that connection, that anytime you eat, actually anything, even plants, their life has to end. You pick a stalk of rhubarb, that stalk is now dead. And you may very well be starving that rhubarb plant for its nutrients to survive throughout the winter. So it's something I like to teach my kids. Again, usually harvest them. This winter, we're definitely going to keep them and kind of continue the lesson on for our kids about the difficulties of keeping animals through the cold season, through the 9 months of winter we get up here. So again, we'll probably have a couple of posts about that. Other than that, those are the major things kind of going on here at the farm and on the homestead. I'm going to sit and enjoy the rest of my cigar now that I finally got it burning, and drink some more of this. What is it? The Lion Stout. Tasty, like I said, quite bitter. Has a nice good head on it. Very dark. I love a good dark beer. But it's definitely bitter. Bitter to the flavor there, but that holds true to a lot of good stouts. So, yeah, so I'm going to enjoy this. Hopefully you all are enjoying this videos as I, again, my experimental series, trying to grow and then improve my ability to do these videos. So thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.